Hi, my name is Lee, and today I'm going to talk about all the books that I have gotten this year because my book ban is gone. And in case any of you are wondering why am I behind this, my bookcases are a mess because I've been reorganizing things and they need to be completely redone. I bought so many books that I have no space on my shelves for my new books, really. It's been mayhem. As some of you may know, 2020 was the worst, and all of the book sales that I go to were canceled. But 2021, many of them came back. And because of that, I bought more books than I probably would have if 2020 had happened. Let's start with some picture books. So I bought 2 picture books so far this year. So I bought The House Gobeline by Lloyd Alexander. He is, of course, my favorite author, so I see his name, I buy. It's how it works. Speaking of other favorites, my favorite illustrator, I found Swan Lake, illustrated by Trina Shard-Hyman. She is my favorite illustrator. She's going to show up again in this list. But this is Swan Lake, as told by Margot Fonteyn, who is, of course, the famous ballerina. But yes, this is one of these books that I've been wanting for so long. It's not like I don't already have picture books of Swan Lake, but this one's told by Margot Fonteyn with my favorite illustrator. Now, because of my favorite illustrator, I also went and I bought a new copy of The Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. This is, again, illustrated by the same illustrator. She's my favorite. She also did Peter Pan, which I have that edition of. She did many covers for children's books in the 80s and 90s, and she's my fave. At least one of my faves. I have a few other faves, and I love this edition. But I have a lot of books. Let's get through these. I got 2 Terry Pratchett books so far this year. I bought myself The Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett. This is the first book of the Discworld novels. It's not my favorite. I've already read it. I kind of bought this on a whim because I was like, I don't know if I'll ever see it again, and I want to make sure I have it. And I kind of kept going back and forth while I was at the bookstore, and then I finally just was like, I'm getting it. We're done. It's happening. Color of Magic, Terry Pratchett. Yay. Also by Terry Pratchett, for a gift I got for my birthday, I got Mort, the first of the Death books of Discworld. I love this book. I talked about it in my wrap-up a while back, so I'm not going to go over it again. The Cozy Classics, Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice by Jack and Holman Wang. And I just love it. It's just so cute. Let's talk about some nonfiction quickly. When I get nonfiction from the library, I feel like I have to finish it really fast. And a lot of the time, I can't read a nonfiction book really fast. Well, sometimes I can. Some nonfiction books I go through very quickly. Other books take me months and months and months and months and months and months and months. And it doesn't really matter how long they are. It just is how I work. It's just how I read. It's just how my brain functions. So I bought a few nonfiction books to add to my collection so that way I will read them and I won't have to worry about returning them to the library, giving them back to other people, whatnot. I have them. I can take my time with reading them. So I bought America's Woman by Gail Collins, which is a book about women throughout American history from the Mayflower to now, I guess. It probably ends around the 1980s. Honestly, because most people don't go into the 90s with history stuff, even though it's history now. But yeah, I just felt like this would be a good one. It was a book sale. It was 50 cents. It was a deal. In the same vein, I have Liar, Temptress, Soldier, Spy by Karen Abbott. That was a very long title, okay? This is, of course, about women spies in the Civil War. And when I was a kid, I read a book about Belle Boyd, who was like a Confederate spy, and this has her in it, and then some Union spies too, so that would be really interesting. Ooh, and there's some Pinkerton stuff. Pinkertons. I also need to read some books about Pinkertons, but I haven't gotten to it yet. Then also I got On the Map by Simon Garfield, which is about map making, cartography, and the science of cartography and the history of it. All I know is that there's pictures, and I also really like the font. No, it's on different ones according to what it... Yes. I do love it when a book is properly formatted with cool illustration. This one has a dragon! Yes. Okay, this is going to be super fun. So let's talk about some kind of more feminine, girly romance books. 'Cause you know it's my thing. Not totally. I bought 7 women's literature books in the last 6 months. I have stopped buying a lot of Christian romance books. Like, I used to buy way more and read a lot more of them, and now I'm very picky. I'm very specific about what I do, and most of the time I just get them from the library, read them in a week, and then I'm gone. But when they're 50 cents at a book sale, I bought 2 Lori Wick books. So there, I bought The Proposal. It looks very similar to The Sound of Music. Basically, only Regency. Then I also got The Princess, which looks like Enemies to Lovers setup. Fake monarchy stuff, maybe. 50 cents. Don't judge me. The next one I bought full price, which was The Cul-de-sac War by Melissa Ferguson. I already read this. I loved it. It's going to be in a wrap-up at some point, so I'll talk about it more then. But this is super cute. I do actually recommend this book, so if you see it at the library or at a book sale or want to buy it full price like I did, I do think it's worth it. It was super fun and I loved it. Yay! And I got Puffin Penguin Classic cloth-bound editions of Sense and Sensibility and Emma, because the editions I had, I never wanted to read them again out of. This one's super cute and I love it. So yeah. I really enjoyed Arabella by Georgette Heyer last November when I read it. Like, 5-star, one of my favorite books of 2020 that I read. So I decided to add to my physical TBR and buy 2 more of her books that I haven't read. Frederica and The Grand Sophie. They both seem very similar plot lines. They're about young women in the Regency period who get into shenanigans and fall in love. That's about it. When I'm in the mood for that, I wanted them to be ready and available and I wouldn't have to wait with putting it on hold and waiting for my library to bring it in. Because my library doesn't actually have any Georgette Heyer Regency romances. They have a couple of her mystery books. But I want the romance books. Like, honestly, I DNF and give up on romance books more often than other types of books. But when I enjoy a romance books, I really enjoy it. Speaking of romance, let's change that R from a lowercase to a capital quickly and talk about The Prisoner of Zenda, because I found this beautiful edition of The Prisoner of Zenda. Look at the beautiful fleur-de-lis. Look at the little tiny swords on the spine. Britannia! I love it. And it also has the sequel, Rupert of Hensau, which I've not read. I don't know if I want to read it. I've heard it's not as good as The Prisoner of Zenda, which is one of my favorite books. I read it originally on my Kindle. It's free on Kindle. So if you want to know what I'm talking about, it's free on Kindle. Don't freak out. But yeah, this is a classic romance, capital R, swashbuckler romance book. Action, adventure, political intrigue, body-swapping doppelgangers. It's great. Go read this. Let's quickly talk about The Ember Blade by Chris Wooding, which I bought. I had gotten it when it came out from the library, and I got through 50 pages, and I was like, this is really good. But it's really thick, and I have to send it back to the library because I'm a slow reader. Also, it's by Chris Wooding, who wrote Poison, which was one of my favorite books in high school of all time. I loved it. I loved Poison. I don't know why this is funny. I bought the complete fairy tales of the Brothers Grimm. This is from the late 80s, this edition. With illustrations by John B. Gruelle, the illustrator of the Raggedy Ann books. Oh goodness, I did not realize that when I bought that. This makes it better. I love Johnny Gruelle. I'm so happy. Yes! That's his signature and everything.
It's a very, very tiny signature in the crosshatching here, which is his signature. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy. And this is his style, which you can see in Raggedy Ann and the Snow White Castle.
I'm gonna go scream about it for the rest of the day, probably. So happy about this. Johnny Gruelle is one of my favorite illustrators, too. Like, this is so great. So we're almost out of battery, and I'm just giggling over Johnny Gruelle illustrations in my new edition of the Brothers Grimm. Lastly, I also bought Andrew Lang's The Green Fairy book. This is one of my favorite of his. This is the only one I've actually read the complete thing of. The first couple, the Blue Fairy book, the Yellow Fairy book, and I think the Red Fairy book, all have way more of the stories that you know. So yeah, he still has some grim stories in here, but they're usually not the ones that people know of. Also, there's quite a few appendixes and notes in here, which I also really enjoy. Really enjoy this book. If you see it at your library or at a used book sale, I recommend looking through it and seeing if it's something you'd like. That's my wrap up. My camera is about to die. It is kaput. It is on its last legs. It is going, please, please put me out of my misery. Change my battery. So I gotta go. I hope you're having a lovely afternoon and are reading some good books. If you really enjoyed this video, maybe you're interested in seeing more videos about these books, or maybe more videos of me talking about buying books, you can hit the like button, hit the notification bell, click that subscribe really hard as you possibly can, break the mouse if you have to, and leave a comment if you have some questions or comments in general, something to say, whatever. I'm down there if you want to talk about stuff. Like Johnny Cruel! Bye. Nope. I hope I'm not blurry all day, too. This is gonna be a pain to refilm. We made it. We made it through. Okay, camera? Are we good? Are we happy? Are we? That was very close.